In this video, I'm going to be ranking every single music marketing strategy based on tier. And for the tiers, I'm going to use S tier as the highest, A, B, C, and D. So if you're an independent musician, DJ producer, electronic artist, you're going to find this information super helpful. We know in today's music industry that making great music is only half the battle. And the other half is figuring out how to get people to listen to it and build a loyal audience. Now, I have tried nearly every marketing technique to get my music heard in my 15-year career in music. I have over 2 billion streams, and I tour around the world off my music, so all the insights that I'm going to give you ranking these music marketing strategies are going to be based off of real-life experience. My experience using some of these marketing strategies might be different than somebody else's, and that's okay. I think it's good to have an open conversation where we can share differing opinions on this subject, because at the end of the day, a lot of us are artists and we want to help each other succeed and get to our goals. It's going to be extremely important that you guys listen to all the strategies that I talk about in this video so you can get the best well-balanced marketing strategies that might work for your project. And also make sure you stick around to the end because I'm going to go over one of the most controversial ones. All right, now let's start with our first marketing strategy, DJ radio and promo campaigns. Now, if you guys don't know what this is, there's several companies out there where you pay and they send your record out to their network of DJs, and radio stations. Now, I have a lot of experience using the electronic music specific ones. Basically, in a nutshell, what they do is you send them your song, they approve your song, yes or no, you pay a fee, and they blast your record out to a bunch of different DJs. And sometimes the DJs on this list can be as big A-list DJs like, Tiesto, David Guetta, John Summit, you name it, all the way down to local radio DJs that might play your records on a FM radio mix show or satellite radio. So some of the companies that do this in electronic music are companies like Your Army, Relish, Circa, Wo Promo, Turnt, 1001 Track Lists, and more. And for some of the other styles of music, like maybe more pop music and hip hop, a company that does this is Promo Only. Now, how much does it cost? Usually I found that these services cost anywhere between $150, $200, and they can range all the way up to $1,500 for the really good electronic campaigns. And then if you go a step further, on the big radio campaigns, these can go over $20,000, sometimes even more. The major labels sometimes spend over $100,000 promoting a song to radio. But today, just for simplicity, we're going to focus in electronic DJ campaigns. I have seen many songs get picked up by huge DJs from these campaigns, and they can be extremely effective. All right, now how effective is it? Well, I've seen many big DJs pick up songs off of these DJ campaigns. My own, I've seen it happen to friends. I've seen it happen to up-and-coming artists. These campaigns for sure can change the trajectory of marketing your song. I've seen situations where one of these companies will send out a new promo, a huge A-list DJ will pick up the song, and then it's getting played out at a huge festival literally a week later. So this is extremely effective. Now, the only cons with this is the price. I think for the better ones, the price can be usually over $500. So that's one con. The next con is these companies usually have to approve your song. So if your music's not quite up to the quality where it needs to be, they can easily turn down your song and say no. So it's a case-by-case basis. But overall, this method for promoting your music is extremely effective, and I've seen it work so many times. So overall, for accessibility, price, and effectiveness, I'm going to rank this in A tier. I think it's an amazing way to promote your music. The next one is meta ads. This strategy in relation to music marketing, it usually looks something like this. You have a landing page with some sort of video asset. You log into Meta and you run an ad campaign with a certain budget, and you try to target music fans or fans of a specific artists, fans of Spotify, and you try to drive traffic to the landing page so people click it. And the whole goal of this strategy is usually to try to trigger some of the Spotify algorithmic playlists so your song can get more streams. All right, some of the pros of this strategy and why it can work is it's pretty accessible by anyone. All you need is a Facebook Business Manager account, an ad account, and there's plenty of YouTube tutorials online how to set up these campaigns, and there's plenty of companies that can also help you do it. So it's very accessible, and pretty small budgets can get decent results with this. Now, for me, the major con on this strategy is you're kind of targeting cold, passive listeners, hoping that Spotify is going to prioritize your song in the algorithm, put it on those specific playlists, and drive the streams. Now, my big issue with this is you're not really building real loyal fans from the start. It's coming from cold ad traffic, and it's coming to passive Spotify listeners. And to me, there's really no direct way to build a super, super strong loyal audience here that's going to come buy tickets to your guys' shows, right? So for me, I feel like this strategy is not the best strategy. To me, I would look at the strategy as more throwing gasoline on a fire when you already have something that's working to complement that. I think when you guys are looking to build your artist career, you should be focusing on how to build the most loyal, engaged fan base possible. And to me, this strategy does not do that. So for me, this is a C tier. All right, for the next strategy, this is a big one. It's influencer marketing. If you guys are not familiar with influencer marketing, it's basically paying creators to use the official audio of your songs. Okay, so this strategy is a bit controversial because there's a lot of music purists out there that don't like influencer culture mixing in with music. And I totally understand that. But today, for sake of simplicity, we're just going to talk about how effective it actually is and what the pros and cons are of influencer marketing. I've actually had great success with this strategy. And one example I'm going to give you is my song with Knock 2 called What's the Move. When we first released the song, maybe within the first week or two really awesome creators, Matt Stefanina and Van Secco, they posted a dance video routine using the song. The video popped off. It really helped contribute to the early momentum of the record. Then I've also tried situations where I've tried these third-party influencer marketing sites where you make a set budget, people come in and they take part of the budget and the money gets distributed out to these smaller creators and in turn, they make videos using the official audio. So I've tried those as well too with very mixed results. So let's get into the pros of this strategy. I've seen so many songs blow up this way. It still works really, really, really well. Anywhere from big artists to small artists use influencer marketing, and secretly, basically every big record label on the planet is doing this. And I think the general public doesn't necessarily notice how intensive it can be on the back end, but it works really, really well. Now, let's go into the cons. The cons are to hire the top level creators that are going to use the audio to your songs. It's going to be very expensive. I've seen situations where just like mid-size influencers want to charge, say, $5,000. So for me, the major con here is not really accessible to a lot of independent musicians, and it can be very pricey. And the other con is if you go use the smaller creators and you use some of these third-party sites that pair you up with creators, the results are just such a mixed bag. And for me, it doesn't really move the needle. I found just a couple big accounts actually works better than a bunch of small no-name accounts from these third-party sites. So maybe you send an email to one of these creators that you like in your niche that you think will be a good match with your song, and you can negotiate something there. And I think depending on how you pick the creator and what their audience is like, and you have an understanding of that, this can work really well. So I prefer to do it that way, a few big, really good targeted ones versus just like a crapshoot with a bunch of small creators from these third-party sites that you have no idea where they live, and they might not be in a niche that is going to make sense with you. But overall, using influencer marketing as a core strategy, nothing is guaranteed. It's just such a mixed bag of results. And I've seen situations where big record labels will pay $50,000 for really, really big influencers, and it really doesn't affect the outcome of the song, right? And at the end of the day, I think what's more important than this is how your song is actually catching on organically with people. Because you guys might have heard the saying, you can't polish a turd. If you guys have a song that's connecting with people, it's going to naturally start doing well if you have an influencer marketing on it. And then versus a song that's not really connecting organically with people, and then you throw more money on it, it's still not going to connect with people. So that's kind of the difference there. There are only a handful, in my experience in the music industry, there are only a small handful of people that are really, really, really good at doing these influencer marketing campaigns. There's only a handful of labels that are really doing it well, and some people working hard behind the scenes. So if you know who those people are, or you have a really good grasp on this, I think this is an amazing strategy. And at that point, I would rank this strategy in S tier. But seeing how few those people are and how many companies out there that are doing influencer marketing that are getting these like really bad results, I'm going to have to rank influencer marketing in the B tier. All right, on to the next marketing strategy, emailing and DMing big artists. This one is pretty self-explanatory, exactly what it sounds like. Just using your own social media, DMing your songs out to big artists and finding their emails online. Maybe they're public, or maybe they have promo emails, and sending your music there as well too. So personally, I've actually had huge success with this strategy, and this is how I actually started my career. When I first started making some remixes, posting them on SoundCloud in like 2012, 2013, I started to attract the attention of a lot of artists. They were writing me back, and my songs ended up in DJ sets and podcasts of those artists, all from me just reaching out, blind emailing all on my own. When I was new in the music game, I got to tell you guys a story. I was actually opening for Avicii, and one of the support acts on the Avicii show was an act named Kazette. And when I was backstage, I went up to him and I asked them some advice. I was like, hey, do you guys have any advice, on how to make it as a DJ? And basically one of the guys from Kazette that was working with Avicii at the time told me you just have to be relentless with your outreach, and you have to send emails and emails and emails and emails of your music if you want to get heard. And so I kind of took that to heart and I did just that, and it worked. All right, now let's go over the major pros of this strategy and some nuance. This strategy is completely accessible to everybody and it's free. And you really get what you put into this strategy, right? So I personally like the feeling of having my career in my own hands and not leaving it up to chance. So if you guys send 20 emails, you're going to get 20 email type results. If you send 1,000 emails, you're going to get 1,000 email type results. And to me, it's kind of a game of chance. And the more shots you put out there, the better success you're going to have. I think it would be funny to go back and look at my old emails that I sent back in 2012, because I can tell you I sent thousands and thousands of emails to every big DJ that I can find. And I would almost have dedicated days where I would just spend the entire day sending the song out to big artists. Now, the major con with this strategy is this way is extremely oversaturated and everybody does it. Everybody's competing for attention from a lot of these big artists. Like, I can't even imagine how many emails some of these big artists get on a daily basis. So you're competing with a lot of people in this strategy. So that's going to be the major con here. I think ways around it that can increase your chances in emailing and DMing. I think the first is try with remixes first. It's a lot easier to get a big DJ's attention when you've done a bootleg of a remix or something that they want to play in their sets. That's going to make it like 100% easier for the artist, I think, to click on the song you send them. So that's tip one. Tip two is if you meet the artist in real life. So sometimes you guys might go to a show, you maybe stay till the end, you meet the artist or whatever. Just drop a simple, hey, my name's so-and-so, I'm an artist too, I would love to send you some music. And I've had a lot of success with this where the artists actually give you their email, you follow up with them the next day, you send them your music, they remember you, and they'll reply. I've done this many times in my early days when I was meeting artists, and I would email them my songs this way. And it definitely helped change my career. So based on everything we just went over, the accessibility, how you can control your own destiny with this strategy, and you can get your hands dirty, hustle yourself, and historically how well this has worked for many other artists, I'm going to have to rank this an S tier. The next strategy, Spotify playlisting services. This technique is pretty self-explanatory as well too. It's basically when you pay a third-party company and they get your song playlisted on specific Spotify playlists generated by users. Now, you can't pay directly for the real Spotify editorial playlists. Those are mostly algorithmic. And there's some stuff going on in the back end too. If your record label and distributor knows certain people at the streaming platforms, they can help facilitate that as well too. So you can't pay to get your songs on the actual editorial playlist itself. So what you're paying for is to get it on third-party user-generated playlists. So my experience using this strategy is not that great. I've tried a couple different companies, a couple different styles of budgets, and I've just never really had great results with it. There are so many services out there promoting Spotify playlisting, and you really just don't know what the quality of those playlists are. There's plenty of companies out there that are promoting these services, and a lot of the listeners are botted from other countries, and you can see that reflect in your data. Now, there are services where you can go and you can check and you can see listeners of specific playlists, and you can see where those listeners are, and you can see if they're botted or not. So that's definitely helpful, but overall, I've just never had great results with this. I think that most of my songs that have really caught on organically with real fans. And again, this is going to be a common theme amongst all of these strategies is I'm ranking them based on how good they're building real, organic, loyal fans of your music. And to me, getting on a third-party playlist and then not even knowing where these listeners are, and then having those listeners listen into a playlist pretty passive, to me, that's going to make this rank really low. Now, pros on how this strategy can actually work would be something like this. So if you release with a record label, these record labels can own really big Spotify playlists. The day your song comes out, sometimes they just get shoved on the top spots on those playlists. So that can be super helpful to help jumpstart the song. Another thing that's helpful in Spotify playlisting is if you have other DJ peers or musician peers too, if they have really engaged playlists, you can just do some playlist swap. So for example, some of my friends, I'll just shoot them, hey bro, can you put this on your playlist? Boom. A handful of really cool artists might put that on their playlist, and it'll definitely help jumpstart the song as well too, because I know that my friends that have those playlists, those are real listeners, and have engaged audiences on their Spotify profiles. So that style of Spotify playlisting, in my opinion, can work really well. But due to the sheer fact of how many scams there are in this particular strategy and how you're not really building really active listener base, I'm going to have to rank this our first D tier. I just really think this is not the best strategy to build a loyal ticket buying fan base that's going to come to your shows. If you guys out there have had better success with this strategy than me, please let me know. I just personally haven't found it. All right, our next strategy, making organic short form clips on Instagram Reels and TikTok. So I can best describe this as just making very simple, organic iPhone content using the official audio with your song. So that can look like a number of different things, usually just people outside. You can be in your studio, you can be in the car, you can just be living life, you can just take B-roll, put the song over B-roll, anything like that. Super easy iPhone style stuff, just using the official audio. Personally, I've seen many artists launch their careers off doing this. Some of the guys that have blown up using this strategy since 2020 are guys like Disco Lines and Murph. And honestly, there are absolutely no downsides to the strategy, in my opinion. There's no cost and it's extremely effective. In my opinion, out of all the strategies listed here, this is one of the best ways to start building a real organic fan base that's going to be a fan of you. Not only does it build real organic fans, there's zero middleman and you do it at no cost and you can do it as many times as you want every single day. So to me, the strategy has zero downsides. The only cons that I see here is if you're the type of person that is a little bit shy on camera and you don't like making content, that can be a hard thing to overcome. But again, like anything, I think with enough practice, anybody can be good on camera and you can figure out how to make content. It's just a skill. But in any music marketing plan, in teasing unreleased music, whatever it is, I believe that this should be the first and foremost strategy that every artist relies on. And so given all of the major benefits of doing this and basically zero downside, I'm going to rank this S tier. The next marketing technique is called clipping. So if you guys know what clipping is, it's a newer marketing technique that's really only been used with musicians for, I would say, the last few years. And what it involves is creating a bunch of secondary social media accounts outside your main artist page, and then clipping some of your long form content into short form, and then doing an insane amount of volume on those and trying to capture a viral moment. And then eventually some of those clips have maybe your audio that you want to use, or they're driving traffic back to your main artist page. So a good example of clipping and using clipping effectively is an artist like Fred Again. So for Fred Again's song Victory Lap, I'm sure you guys saw that clip of him in the studio with Plaqueboy Max creating Victory Lap. And that whole clip went viral and it was posted across so many different short form accounts. And it really led to the success of the song and helped the song go viral. And so that's an example of clipping. Drake also effectively used this in his campaign with his song Nokia. It worked really well there. All right, let's go over some of the major pros using this strategy. It doesn't clutter your main page. If you have one artist page, there's really only so much content you can post. If you have multiple social media accounts posting content as well too, you're effectively really increasing your social media reach overall too, because you can post basically, 5 to 10 times more than you normally would on your main account without, spamming your followers and reducing the quality of your main page. So that's a main pro here, is it really allows you to increase your reach exponentially. It also allows you to cut through the noise in a super oversaturated market. There's so many social media creators now. There's so many short form accounts. So having more accounts post more of you into the algorithm, I think that's super effective in being able to cut through the noise. And as you guys know, if you want to be successful artists, you're going to have to cut through the noise and people are going to have to find you. Also too, if some of these clips on the secondary accounts end up doing really well, they're going to naturally drive traffic back to your main page. So it's extremely effective. Now, the major con with this strategy. There is a major con. And in my opinion, the strategy only works really good if you are kind of already well known. So if you look at some of the artists that have used clipping effectively, like Fred Again or Drake, even guys like Chris Lake, he has his YouTube streams clipped, and some of those actually do really well. You have to be really well known. And if you're not well known, the clips really aren't going to perform and go viral, I think, as you want them to. So to me, the major con here is you kind of need to be already well known, I think, for this strategy to really, really, really work well. Now, that doesn't mean it can't work well. I think that having more accounts and posting more content and being able to double down on that can help you a lot for sure. But in my opinion, if you're already a well-known DJ, this is going to work a lot better than if you're unknown. All that being said, I'm going to give clipping a B tier. All right, on to the next strategy, music videos. To me, music videos are one of the most classic ways to promote songs. I mean, if you're like me, you grew up in the 90s, you probably watched MTV, and you fell in love with some of your first songs off of music videos. A lot of big artists, too, across the world have their biggest audiences here on YouTube where they have the music videos. If you'll notice, especially a lot of the Latin artists, they go huge on music videos. They have a lot of listeners and people watch the music videos here on YouTube. Good example is an artist like Bad Bunny. Very music video heavy, investing heavy into the music videos. And to me, I think this really creates a really good loyal fan base. So to me, music videos are about investing into your brand a little bit more and passing on an experience to your fans and telling a particular story. So it allows a new storytelling medium and allows you to get some really good branded content for your fans that's different from the short form. The artists are posting these like mini 15 and 30-second clips that look like music videos and have kind of the production of music videos, but they're super short and geared towards short form. So I'm just going to call those mini music videos for now. And I think those are extremely effective too because they are a brand building thing where you can tell a quick story, you can really hone in on your own aesthetic and make yourself stand out. Previously, we were talking about organic iPhone style content too, which is also effective. But for this allows you to level up your brand story with your artist project and kind of get a style that's unique to you and allow you to stick out. And so overall, music videos and mini music videos, I think, are a great tool for branding. Let's go over the cons with this. So for me, the cons with this is it's very expensive. If you guys want a top of the line music video, you're definitely going to have to invest. It's not cheap at all. And so to me, that kind of reduces the accessibility on music videos. And even the mini music videos, if you guys don't have any video or editing skills yourself, you're going to have to hire somebody to help you with that. And it's definitely going to be somewhat expensive in order to do that. Unless you guys maybe have a friend that can help you do with that. So overall, I think music videos are one of the best things that we've talked about so far in this list that can help you really build your brand story as an artist and help you build an organic, loyal fan base. But because of the cost and accessibility to a lot of small artists, I'm going to have to rank this an A tier. Otherwise, I would give this an S tier. All right, for our last and final marketing technique, releasing with record labels. Now, I think this is actually one of the most controversial ones these days. You hear a lot of people talking about, should I self-release? Should I release with record labels? So I kind of coupled releasing with a record label as a strategy in its own because it's something that a lot of artists want to do, and I think we need to touch on it. Again, this one's self-explanatory. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's sending a demo off to a record label and releasing that single or EP or album with that particular record label. I personally have had really great success with this over my career, but times have changed overall in the scope of releasing music. I think this strategy works really good today as long as you are with those current hot record labels. At any given time, especially in the world of dance music, there's only really a handful of labels that can really move the needle for your career and your song, right? An example of this is something like John Summit's Experts Only right now. If you get signed on Experts Only right now, more than likely John Summit is going to be playing the song out, and it's really going to help the song get momentum and explode. And if you think about that, how many record labels right now have that type of effect? It's, in my opinion, not that many. Earlier on in my career, I got my career kicked off actually by releasing with some of those record labels at the time that were really hot. So some of my first records in 2013 and 2014 came out. I was releasing on Owsla, which is Skrillex's label, Spinnin' Records, Hardwell's Revealed Recordings, and things like that. And releasing on those labels at that time when they were really hot really helped jumpstart my career. So overall, this can be extremely effective. Now, let's go into the major cons here. It's not really up to you. You have to send demos out and wait for an email, and it doesn't really feel like your career is in your own hands, like some of the other strategies that I talked about, like making content yourself and emailing out. Those strategies are ranked so high because it's in your control, and you can kind of control the destiny of your career with those. This, you're kind of leaving it up to fate. All you can do is make the best music you possibly can, send it out, and pray. So that's the first major con of this. The next major con is, let's talk about the business side of it. Releasing with record labels from a business perspective these days isn't that great. A lot of these record labels are going to take anywhere from 80% up to 50% of the royalties on the master side. And so if you kind of compare that to releasing independently, you basically need double the streams on a record label to make the same amount of money as if you released independently. So if you guys are thinking about releasing independently, you don't need nearly as many streams to make the same amount of money. So that to me is the major con with releasing on a record label. The next con for me is if a song doesn't have momentum on its own, just because you release with a record label doesn't mean it's going to be better. It's the same thing as we talked about in some of the other strategies. If you have a hot song and it's hot because you teased it and you sent it out yourself, DJ started playing it, you don't really need a record label. Record labels are kind of there to just maybe amplify the record a little bit. But if a record is good, it's going to rise to the top on its own if you did everything that you can do promoting it yourself. I'll give you another example of this. My song Rave Tool, which is definitely one of my most widely supported songs that I've talked about in previous videos. That song had tons of hype and play before I even shopped it to a record label. So to me, that record could have been self-released. It could have been released on almost any label because I built the hype up myself with it and it grew organically. So at that point, I didn't really need to release with a record label. So record labels they're there to complement and they can definitely help, but try to build hype around your songs first. Now, the major pros with this strategy, if you guys are releasing with those select few record labels that can really move the needle at the given time and are hot, it can definitely change the course of your song and your career. Again, a good example, John Summit's Expert Only is the best example that I can give right now. Basically, any song flowing through that label is pretty much performing really well. All the big DJs are rinsing it and playing it in that specific style. So the strategy can work really good as long as you happen to be lucky enough to get signed to those select few labels at the time that are hot. So overall, balancing out the business, balancing out how difficult it is to reach record labels, but if you get signed, how effective it can be. I'm going to have to give releasing on record labels a B tier. It's not accessible to everybody. It's very difficult. You can't control your own destiny. But if you happen to get lucky enough to get in contact with one of those labels and they release your song, it can definitely change the outcome of your career. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know sometimes as artists, it's difficult to separate the creation of the music from marketing the music as well too, but we're just living in a music industry now where both things are equally as important, unfortunately, and we got to play the game. So if you take away anything from this video, I hope you can learn something new from either of these marketing techniques and you can figure out how to apply that to your own career. Also, if you like this style of content, I actually teach artists, DJs, and producers in my one-on-one mentoring program, which you can find that below. Also, I noticed a lot of you guys aren't subscribed to my channel that watch these videos, so make sure you give me a like and subscribe so more people can learn.